So little by little, I've been redoing the teak decks on New Horizons. When I first bought New Horizons, this here is what the wood originally looked like. And as you can see, there's leftover sealer on the wood. So particularly along the black caulking and then a little bit on pieces of the wood, some of the sealer from the prior owner is left over. So I've started to redo the wood, and you can see over here, this is an example of some of the work that I've done over the past few months. So today I'm going to show you how I did that, working on a fresh new spot. So to sand the deck, we use a random orbital sander like this one, and I start out with an 80 grit sandpaper for the initial sanding to get down to the bare wood, and then finish it off with 120 grit so that it's a bit of a smoother surface, but still rough enough so that when you're walking around on deck you have a nice grip if it happens to be wet. So now the preliminary sanding is done, and I'm just taking one of the worn out sanding pads to take this leftover sealer off of the caulking. And it's just a matter of taking this sandpaper and rubbing it in there until it comes off. So here I'm using a tool called a Dremel, which is very similar to a drill, but it's ideal for doing fine work like what I'm doing here. I'm just taking the old sealer off of the caulking, but along the edges it's really hard to do this by hand with sandpaper because it's very easy to scratch the white paint along the edges. So using this tool is a great way to get in there without damaging any of the surroundings. Alright, so now you can see that we've got this beautiful, freshly sanded surface. The wood is ready to go, and the black caulking also has had all of the prior sealant removed. And now we're going to apply this really great stuff by Starbright. It's teak sealer, and it comes in a few different colors. The one that I really like is natural light. Super easy to apply. Do it just using a foam brush like this. Make sure you stir it up nicely to get all the solids mixed in. Put some on a brush. Going nice, long, easy strokes. Oh, and before doing this, I used a tack cloth to wipe up any last bits of dust. It's better than using a wet rag because it doesn't wet the wood. It's effective at picking up all the fine particles, and it leaves the wood nice and dry, which is what we need in order to work on this. You can see that just goes right on there. And then I'm just going to go slat by slat. In between each slat, you'd want to just take a rag and wipe the black caulking so that it doesn't stain it. That was a mistake that whoever did this job prior to me did, and then you get this sealant on all the black caulking and it doesn't look particularly good. Okay, so this is what the deck looks like once the sealer has been applied. And you can see right along the edge here, this is still the bare, recently sanded wood. And I'm gonna varnish that section. My favorite varnish is this Epiphanes High Gloss Clear Varnish. And for the first coat, I've diluted it with the Clean Strip Odorless Mineral Spirits, about 50%. And it's just mixed here in a bowl. And here we go, let's get started. So just using a nice, fresh, high quality brush for varnishing. It's all about the best quality, so you really want to get the finest quality varnishing brush that you can. This one here is the Linzer Best. Then we just want to do nice, even strokes. And when varnishing, it's always important to make sure that when you run into a dry area, that you brush into the wet. That helps to prevent any marks or seams, any uneven points. Okay, and we're done for today. This is with one coating of Teak sealer, and along the edge here, one coating of 50% thinned varnish. So this is before and after. And here's an example of some of the work I did a few months ago. This over here, this is not done yet. The section over here with the sealer on it, that should be cleaned with a Teak cleaner. Depending on the climate that you're in, every 6 months to a year. And then a new coating of sealer should be applied. And along the varnished edge here, the first coating, as I mentioned, is 50% varnish, 50% mineral spirits. The second coating is 25% mineral spirits. The third coating is about 15% mineral spirits, and then that should be followed up with 4 more coatings of either pure varnish or thinned just a little bit, maybe 5% mineral spirits to make it more workable. And in between every coating, you need to let it dry for 24 hours and then sand it with a fine sandpaper. So grand total at a minimum, varnish work should have a total of 7 coatings. So that's just something to keep in mind before you start a project involving varnish. You really need to give yourself at least 1 week to do the work. And if you're doing the work outside, then you need to make sure that you do it when there's no rain in the forecast, because high humidity and rain can cause the varnish to appear cloudy. Well, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to see more how-to videos like this, let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.